Innovation is one of those terms that means everything and nothing at the same time. Now, depending on your background, your profession, and many other factors, innovation can mean different things. So, how do you actually conduct innovation? Is there a reliable and measurable process you can use to do that? And finally, what does that mean for public diplomacy? Today, we're going to explore those questions. Hi, my name is Lauren Hurst, and I serve as an advisor on the Communications Committee at the Public Diplomacy Council of America. This is the first of 3 videos on innovation management for public diplomacy that we'll release in the coming weeks. This video gives an overview of design thinking and the process of innovation management. Now, in future videos, we'll discuss conducting empathy interviews as part of the design thinking research process, and we'll also discuss how to apply these innovation practices to a public diplomacy challenge. Now, today we're going to hear from April Steele. April is the Director of Insights and Innovation for Epic Pivot. Epic Pivot is a consulting firm specializing in innovation and cultural transformation. Now, April is an applied anthropologist, and she leads front-end innovation research to help clients gather rich context-driven data for product, service, and campaign design. Now, in this video, April discusses human-centered design approaches. Let's take a look.
My name is April Steele, of course. I am the Director of Insights and Innovation for Epic Pivot. We are an innovation and strategy consulting firm. We have not done a lot of public diplomacy engagements. We work, though, across a variety of sectors and industries, and have led more than 250 engagements in our 15 years history in innovation, insights, and strategy. And we are also doing now purposeful transformation to help businesses become a force of good in the world. So as the Director of Insights and Innovation, I manage Epic Pivot's research function. And so I help scope and conduct all of the customer and B2B research at Epic Pivot. My background is in anthropology, and we'll get into the connection between anthropology and design thinking. But essentially, we really specialize in qualitative research and really deep contextual understanding of your business challenge or your objectives. And that helps us design really effective programs for our clients, really effective strategies. And we'll talk about, the value of that deep qualitative research approach in design thinking. So I'll spend a little bit of time talking about what human-centered design is. A lot of folks may have heard of the term design thinking, innovation, human-centered design. So what do we mean by design? It's really a process of understanding user needs and developing products, services, programs, processes around that deep understanding of user needs. And so it's just about meeting people where they are. So Melinda Gates described design, human-centered design, as meeting people where they are and really taking their needs and feedback into account. When you let people take part in the design process, you find that they often have really ingenious ideas about what would help them. So it's a process grounded in the understanding that the most valuable tools for improving people's lives aren't necessarily the ones designed in the shiniest labs. They're the ones that people can and will actually use. And so it's about understanding and meeting people where they are. The design thinking process, you'll see it's really just a broad set of practices that really centers around a common understanding of end user needs and how that can improve our strategic decision making and increase the effectiveness and adoption of new ideas and solutions. And we're going to be going through each of these steps just very briefly to understand what this process looks like. But all human-centered design approaches begin with empathy. And maybe a unique term. So it's not called market research. It's not called data collection. It's called empathy. Why is it called empathy? It's because it's really about putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. It's about the ability to understand where somebody is coming from and really empathize with and share an understanding of their values and their needs. And so you conduct empathy or you gather empathy data through a variety of methods, but usually it's things like one on one interviews. You can also do focus groups, panel discussions, community charrettes are another way of empathizing with communities. But really, it's just about talking to people and having conversations and asking those really open ended questions that help you kind of understand where that person's coming from. And so you really want to invite those stories. You want to ask really open ended, non leading questions. And we'll actually, in a moment, get into how to develop a really good empathy interview guide, which is a lot different than interviewing someone, say, for a job position or a podcast. It's a much different type of interviewing that focuses on letting the end user kind of guide your questions and your decision making. Again, this is really about understanding where your end users are coming from. Then we go into define, which is really about redefining the challenge or the problem from the end user or the community point of view, rather than going into the problem with the challenge already defined, right? So from that end user empathy perspective and from that defined challenge statement, you then generate a lot of solutions. And then you kind of pull back and prototype the ideas that have the strongest opportunity for success. And you go back to your end users. And so this is an iterative process. The testing phase is really important. You want to put your ideas in front of people before you really invest a lot of time and resources in developing it fully. So you want to really make sure that desirability is there and that it meets the needs of your end users before you invest a lot of time in development. After you've really empathized with your end users and your participants and understood the perspectives of a lot of different stakeholders, you then redefine your challenge or your problem statement from their point of view. And so we're not designing solutions based on our ideas and what we think is great. We're designing solutions for someone else, for real people. And so are their needs, goals, and aspirations? What are they trying to accomplish in their lives? What are their values and mindsets? And why is this challenge or problem important to them? How are they currently navigating the situation? You try to interpret, okay, what's the underlying foundational need that we're solving for? What did we hear? What emotions and desires did we hear expressed? And what's getting in the way of people accomplishing their goals? What are their pain points? Insights can also be things that are really surprising or tensions in what you heard. So maybe people really want to be one thing, but they're acting in a way that seems counterintuitive to what they've expressed to you. And so those are really great opportunities for design. And what would the ideal state look like? And then you develop your problem statement. So you develop this synthesized point of view based on the end user that's focused on their needs and not the artifact or the program. So you want it to be broad enough. You want your problem statement to be broad enough to inspire a lot of ideas and new thinking. And so let's say you're developing new technology to help people access information. Your problem statement wouldn't be something like, I need an app that does XYZ. Your problem statement would be, I need a way to better understand my financial situation. Ideation can involve a lot of different stakeholders. This is a great time after you've kind of defined your challenge. This is a great time to bring in a lot of different stakeholders to help generate ideas. And again, you're deferring judgment at this point. You're kind of trying to think outside the box. You're building on ideas from other industries. You want to really let those ideas flourish and get a lot of them. And then we prototype. So prototyping is about not putting all your eggs in one basket until you have a really great idea. So a prototype can be any artifact that your stakeholders can interact with. And often this looks like things like paper sketches. We use a lot of just really rough sketches in our prototypes. You can also do skits, role playing, scenarios, walking people through the solution and helping them really get a sense for what the idea is. You can do wireframe prototypes that are digital if you're developing, let's say, an app or a website. And then you test those prototypes with real people. So it's not about selling your idea at this phase. It's really about further refining and empathizing with your stakeholder about their needs so that you can make that thing the best thing it can be. What you want to do is give your prototype to your end users, let them experience it, interact with it, let them modify it. A lot of times we intentionally keep prototypes very low fidelity because we want users to feel like it's malleable and that they can change it. So we don't want them to feel like it's a finished product because then they're not going to be comfortable making changes or critiquing it. And so you really want honest feedback. A lot of times we'll answer questions with another question. So somebody will say, well, how would this part of this prototype work? And you say, well, how would you want it to work? What would be ideal in your world? Just making sure that you're collecting that feedback so that you can refine your ideas. I included this slide because it's a really great kind of visual for understanding what the design process looks like. And so again, it starts with empathy and you go very, very wide. This is called the double diamond of design. There are phases in the design process where you go really, really wide and then phases where you focus in. And so the empathy phase, again, very broad. You're asking very open-ended questions. You're talking to a lot of different people. You're really just trying to gain all the insights you can into your challenge or problem. Then you go wide again with ideate, right? You generate lots and lots of potential solutions without limits. And then you start narrowing those solutions down as you begin prototyping and testing with end users. And so, and you may go through this phase multiple times before you actually get to something that's ready to be launched. So, our key takeaways here for design and empathy interviewing is just getting out of your office and into the world, getting into other people's lives and really understanding the context of their world, adopting that beginner's mindset and letting your participant be the expert. Just again, going in with a fresh slate and letting your end users or your stakeholders kind of guide your challenge, listening without judgment or bias. Again, you're really just trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And then with the design process, when you begin ideating and testing, you really want to ideate without limits. We prioritize desirability first. So if you design something that is highly desirable, that people want and need, they're going to use it. And all you have to do is figure out a way to make it feasible, right? So you want to find the nugget of the good idea and then move into the testing phase. So in the testing phase, you don't want to waste your resources on an idea that you think is great that you've never put in front of somebody to see if it works. And so definitely test and iterate on your solutions.